Hey, what's up, everybody? We've got a lot to talk about today, as I'm sure you're all already aware that the new Season 1 patch is coming live on September 30th. It is bringing a lot of changes. So much so that this could easily be a 20-minute video if we were to go in-depth on all of the changes and the additions. So instead, I'm going to try and keep it pretty short and just kind of mainly go over the things that are going to be directly affecting you once you log in on Tuesday and get into your first battles. I'll also touch on some of the larger new additions to the game, mainly the Battle Pass, but since most of that is just speculation until we actually see it, I'm not going to put too much focus into that for now. We will also apparently be getting some new exclusive packs to offer you guys, but again, I won't touch on it much until we actually see it. I just know that one is a starter pack and the other is a cosmetics pack. So the Battle Pass is going to work the same way it does with most games. You'll grind through a line of rewards in return for your matches and completing challenges. Skins will definitely be included, and it looks like that's going to be the primary thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's also doctrines and signaculums or similarly valuable rewards, but that's really just a guess on the last ones. The pass is expected to cost 980 sovereigns, but with the nobility and conquest tokens, it seems like they're adding also some free pathways to grind towards unlocking things you want, which might help take some heat away from the XP changes when you're still getting rewarded frequently for your matches. At least that's what I'm hoping. One thing that stood out to me for sure was the 50% seasonal experience with the pass, and I almost misread that to think that we would be getting an extra 50% experience from our battles. So I want to make it clear that this is related to the season pass itself. If you don't have the pass, you will still grind through the levels, but you'll not get the rewards. And then you can later on buy the pass, and you'll unlock all the rewards that you've passed so far. The bonus XP that you get from unlocking it just means that you'll grind faster through those season rewards. But the pass will also unlock additional nobility and conquest token rewards, while only some will be available without the pass. For the people who love their cosmetics, we know the store will be getting some new seasonal items. That's to be expected. More shiny things to spend your money on, right? However, moving on from there, the Warlord rebalancing is a lot more interesting to me than the store stuff. And there's a lot here. Some good, some really, really bad. The two most major changes that I see are right at the top of the list with the short sword and the spear. The short sword is going way down with increased duration to iron sides, but even worse, it's losing its staggers, making it the only melee without stagger. I honestly don't know what they were thinking about this one. Stagger, I think, is horrible for the game, but why would you take it away from only one unit? I don't understand. The only place short sword was really abusable too was in deathmatch, in my opinion, with its tankiness and its knockdown cycling. It was really hard to deal with, but even then, it wasn't impossible to play against. It was just a very strong class for that match. Then if we look at the other side things, on the buff side, the spear is getting some solid increases in both damage and cooldowns to its skills. And if you've played spear before it took some nerfs, both Hurricane's Edge and Gungnir's Greeting will play and feel very similar to the way they used to. And I know a lot of spear classes who have been switching away and who are super excited to get back into their original class that they started with. So even though I don't play spear myself, I'm getting the impression, and I think it's going to be in a much better place going forward. The dual blades are also coming in with a buff, granting it 3 seconds of invisibility when dismounting, and I actually think that's a very good start in getting the class to where it should be. It's supposed to be an assassin class, and most of the buffs and nerfs surrounding it have always been about its damage output or just how squishy it is at one point or another. But I feel like for once they're finally taking a different look at it. I wouldn't like to see the DB get any stronger to where you're just like definitely dead if they get you. But I do think it would be great to give them more ability to kind of just get in and out quickly, picking their spots and times and being that stealthy assassin that they're supposed to be. And I think this is the first step moving in that direction with them. I'm also glad that they're not going too far and they're kind of slowly moving it up with that. For the other classes, honestly, the other melee classes, I think their changes are pretty much negligible. There's some small changes to damage and cooldowns and stuff on the attacks, but none of it is huge. So instead, I'm going to skip those and we'll look right at the ranged heroes, with the short bow getting a small buff to the Angry Hornet's attack, giving it some extra damage for level 2 and 3. The musket gets a small nerf to its max range, but I think that it won't have much of an impact on the class because it's already definitely best played at close range. And if you're shooting stuff primarily from 25 meter range, you're already doing it wrong, in my opinion. And so muskets should really be fine from this.
Oh my god, me.
The longbow, however, is a little bit more frightening with its changes, especially since I'm not actually sure if it's a typo in the patch notes or if it's really meant as it's written. So the notes say, increased damage from 10% to 30% for targets at 80 meters away when left-clicking and using Ignite. Now, I think that what that was meant to say was that it increases the damage drop-off from 10 to 20%, which basically means longbows won't be able to do stuff like stand on top of siege towers or on top of the walls after a point has already been cleared, and use the height to snipe off ranged units way in the back. I'm a little bit more touchy about my longbow than the other classes, so, that worries me. I think that would completely change the impact the longbow can have on the game at the end of a match. However, if they did mean it the way they typed it, and longbows will get the extra damage, that's going to make them actual snipers, being able to deal super damage to stationary units who leave themselves exposed, which again could have another massive impact on longbow's overall performance in matches, but in the complete opposite direction. Fortunately, to really know for sure, we're just going to have to wait and find out, but either way, it looks like it's going to be a pretty significant change. For the unit changes, there aren't nearly as many, but they are all noticeable for sure, starting with the leadership cost of Sergeant and Imperial Javelins, and also increasing the Sergeant's armor penetration by 20%. They're also losing the ability to use directional throw outside of their unit attack range though, so no more preemptive or long-range volleys with Javelins. I think Javelins needed this because they're too specific of a unit for their cost, in my opinion. They're really only best played near or on a supply depot, and they don't have the sustainability to really justify their leadership cost. I think this could actually go even further in bringing down the cost of all other Javelins as well by a little bit, but I don't play them that much, so let me know what you guys think about that. Iron Reapers are getting a huge buff, making them immune to normal attack stuns, while also adding their own normal attack stun for the sword and shield break for the flail, as well as a general increase of 200 to all defenses. This is coming on top of the buff they already got in the preseason patch, and I think this makes them a pretty exciting unit to grind towards again. For the range, several Arquebusier lines are having their accuracy adjusted, with Demesne gaining their accuracy and the Iron Caps and Kriegsrats losing accuracy. But the biggest changes to the range units, I think, are to both of the Imperials. Imperial Arquebusiers with their fix to volley, greatly increasing the accuracy of it, so hopefully it actually works now. And to the Imperial Archers, who are gaining 25% firing speed and 12.5% damage to their bodkin arrows. Now personally, I felt like the Imperials, they were already a good archer line. They just aren't meant for ranged versus ranged combat. But this might change that, and it's definitely going to be putting the hurt on armored melee even more than before. So I'm excited to see what them having a wider range of use on the field is going to look like. But lastly, we'll look at the siege and map changes, with siege towers now having lowered its minimum required units to push from 8 to 7. Not really going to make much of a difference to anything, honestly, but the reason they gave for doing it didn't make any sense to me. They said that killing a single troop pushing a siege tower would force it to stop until one of the other troops had replaced it from its unit, but that's not what I've ever seen. I've always had to kill a bunch of troops to stop it. Doesn't matter though, it's a super small change, pretty much negligible. Hawachas, grape shots, and ballistas are all getting some small buffs in the siege equipment category. It's going to put them in more of a middle ground between where they were before and what the preseason nerf did to them, which was good, especially the Hawacha. I threw all mine away in sieges immediately when I saw how bad they became, so I'm happy to see that's getting a little bit of a buff there. The Trebuchet is also being reworked into more of a dartboard style damage layout, with units within 2 meters of the blast taking 9k damage, 8k damage at 3 meters, and 5k damage beyond that. Though keep in mind that a full load of Trebs comes with 6 shots, so even if units are getting hit with 5k damage blobs, a couple of them will still annihilate pretty much anything. So Valley Fortress in particular got some small changes added to it on the actual map layout, but until we see it, all we can really comment on is the 1-minute battle duration decrease, which I don't really understand that either. Valley Fortress, I think, is already one of the hardest maps to attack, so I'm not sure why they chose that map in particular to cut down on the attacking side. But that's pretty much it for the maps. They left most of them alone, and pretty much it for what I'll be discussing here today. There are some other small additions, resource changes, etc. About a page and a half worth of bug fixes that covers most of, I don't know, the veterancy bugs and little things like that. So guys, thanks for watching. I hope this helps you be a little more prepared for the coming changes and transitioning easily into your first battles. I also want to take this moment to announce the winner from the last guide giveaway, so congratulations to the Real Voidwalker. I've messaged you to get your code to you ASAP. I hope to keep the giveaways coming as often as I can for you guys, but until next time, thanks for watching. Have a good one. Take care.
My help sergeants are almost elite. One more level and they're elite.